Absolutely.
What, you know, I hear this absolutely, and I really believe the positive intentions, the people saying that, but it sure is not in the water authority documents that these experts created. This has only come up tonight. So what we're saying is we're going to buy this water company, we're going to own it locally, and we're going to force this water company to pay $4 million in taxes. Well, then that's great. Then let's not say they don't have to pay the taxes anymore. You can't say absolutely in one breath and say we're not going to pay it the next, because the math just doesn't add up. And that's why this whole topic scares me, that there are people that just want to own this so bad they'll agree to anything, and it's just not the right way to run the company.
Mr. Ackerman?
Let me give you some comfort, Mike, then, if you're scared.
Thank you. Come right ahead.
This is not a new topic tonight. In fact, 3 years ago, Bluegrass Flow commissioned the Woodward Committee report study on what a local authority should look like. It recommended that the school systems affected, regardless of county, be reimbursed for their lost revenue, so the school systems would not be at risk. That same recommendation came through in the first task force recommendation to the council. Secondly, it's wrong that it's $4 million in property taxes. In fact, the great bulk of that money are state and federal income taxes paid by the water company, which a local authority would not have to pay. So don't get I think it's more on the order of $600,000 for the Fayette County school system, easily a reimbursement absorbed into the system when it's put together.
So we have all these easily reimbursed assessments. We have $600,000 here, we have fire hydrant fees there, we've got a bunch of new employees to hire there, and we're going to make all these concessions and return a profit and finance 100% of the acquisition. There's no businessman in the planet that wants to do that. Foster, despite your best efforts, I'm still scared.
Well, you know, one thing that needs to be cleared up is that there's been no projection from anybody on the affirmative side of this question that there are going to be immediate profits pouring over to the general fund of the Urban County Council. And folks who are a whole lot smarter than me on this issue, Tom Dupree, who studies these sort of things for bonds for a living, George Raftelis, who is the expert hired by the Urban County government. I see he has fans in the audience. The truth of the matter is he does this for a living and he lives well. Even a master's candidate at the Gatton School of Business did a thesis on the acquisition price for the Urban County government, and then the court appointed appraisers to look at the value. And every one of them came back with a value, a range of values that was purchasable. The purchase price could be retired through existing revenue streams. It's frankly admitted and been discussed before council that there would be no profits for a number of years, if at all. And if so, the question of whether any funding would be available to the Urban County Council would not be the council's choice. It would be the water authority's decision to either recommend that funds are available or to recommend lower rates. And all of this, again, is governed by statutes.
Well, I commend you on being that straight tonight. I mean, you have been a straight shooter. There has been lots of misinformation about, well, we can keep the $5 million here. What I heard Mr. Ackerman just say is that we all acknowledge it'll be a long time before there's any profits. But what he did say that I will take issue with is that there is a range been established by experts, and in those ranges it has been established that we can pay those ranges out of the rates. Well, that's just not true. Raftelis, the alleged expert, who's basically not an expert, but he's paid as one, but I won't do the Raftelis thing tonight. What I will focus on is that he gave us a range of $125 million to $325 million is the possible values. Okay, that's 3 times the floor is 1/3 of the ceiling price, 125 to 300 and some odd million.
Is that range accurate, Mr. Ackerman?
Well, that's what Mr. Raftelis, his expert, said.
To your recollection, I was going to ask about the range for people who forgot, or maybe you're new to this issue.
I believe Mike is accurately reporting the Raftelis range. Yes.
Okay.
Now let me go back to that though. Okay, so we have this range of $200 million. We're saying that we can pay for it, whether it's $125 million or $325 million. If somebody in this room could produce a business document, a pro forma, with responsible assumptions that says that we can pay $325 million for this thing and return a profit to this community, I will apologize for taking the wrong position. Over the last several years, nobody has been able to do that. If they had been able to do that, those performers would be all over the place. No businessman in the world wants to go off on an excursion to think about buying a business that might be worth $125 million, might be worth $325 million. It doesn't make any sense.
3 points in response to that. First, that the Raftellus high-end range was substantially higher than the other estimates, which were in the low 200s. And Tom Dupree did such a pro forma, and that was circulated very early in this debate. You were not on the council at the time and perhaps did not get a copy, and we will dig one of those up and get that to you.
I have reviewed that thing.
Okay. So there has been a pro forma circulated in the community. But what I think it's important to recognize tonight is that if the litigation plug hadn't been pulled 20 months ago, guess where we would be now? We would be at the valuation stage of the acquisition litigation. And the court would have available to it the information on the Thames water sale for $15 billion that was announced on Monday, and the other information that is currently floating in the financial markets as AWW prepares to go float a public IPO. So we would know this stuff. And remember, at the end of the day, what we're voting yes on is a referendum that says the government is to buy the water system if it can be acquired for a price in a commercially reasonable manner that can be repaid out of existing revenues. If it turns out that the number is way up in the sky, the government doesn't have to do it.
How long, just one quick question for Mr. Ackerman, then I'll let you respond, Mike. How long is a court case going to take? If the vote yes wins and the water company begins back and we start fighting this out in court again, how long does it take?
Well, there are two questions in any eminent domain case. Is there a right to condemn? If so, what's the price of the property? The case on the question of right to condemn was fully briefed and submitted to the judge. It should not take about 2 or 3 months, in my opinion, to get that back in a position where that can be decided. Now, it's likely to take an 18-month course up through the Court of Appeals and back down. That's why I say if we hadn't stopped 20 months ago, we would be back at the valuation stage today. Total litigation, anything that is hotly contested goes up and down an appeal could take 5 or 6 years.
Mike?
I think that is the same thing that Cheryl Snyder told the Urban County government 2 years ago.
Cheryl Snyder also told them a number substantially less than the $1 million that we spent before the voters pulled the plug. But Mr. Ackerman keeps talking about where we would be if the plug hadn't gotten pulled. Where we would be is at least another $1 million in debt in legal fees and consultation fees. Where we would be is further diverted as a government from the priorities that we've already taken on, and we would be even further divided. You know, the last 2 years has shown up a lot of facts, and those facts, the fact is that the company is well run, even though it's by an outside demon-like corporation. We've learned that over the last 2 years, everything is going just fine. So where we would be if this whole thing never started 4 years ago is we'd be $1 million or $2 million richer as a government, we'd be less divided as a city, maybe our public safety would have gotten fixed better sooner, maybe our sewers would be in much better shape, maybe the talent in this room that has focused itself on a priority that we never accepted as a community, maybe we could all be doing something more productive. So the plug was pulled 20 months ago, but it was plugged by the voters who put the councilmen in there to do just that. And I think we would have been better off if this never started.
You're listening live to a discussion of the water issue on the ballot November 7th with Councilman Mike Scanlon and Foster Ackerman, the lead attorney for Bluegrass Flow. We have a question over here on the vote yes side. Thank you for your patience. Your first name and question, please.